So I rank number one in a competitive surgical specialty that needs both dentistry and medicine by acing my interviews. So if you're having problems with not knowing what to say, your answer sounds too generic, or you just don't know how to sell yourself, this video is for you. So my name's Oliver and I'm currently a surgical trainee in Australasia, and I spent over a year practicing for interviews, and I paid for courses, mentors, and practice daily with different people. And I want to distill all of that time by showing you how to answer the question, tell me about yourself, as perfectly as possible for you. And I'll put my answer at the very end.
Which is pure gold. Hi, I'm CC. I'm the fiance that got to practice with Oliver every day for 6 months. And I witnessed the struggle, the growth of trying to understand his personal story, his unfair advantages, and how to present that authentically in an interview answer. Now, I'm also a doctor and I interview for job positions every year, and I really think the tips in this video are helpful for whatever interview you're doing. So let's get right into it.
So the first point that I really want to make is whether you're applying for jobs, applying for different courses, and specifically for me, surgical training, which is extremely competitive, the main thing is that interviews weigh a whole lot on people. You realize at the end of wherever you're working, it's who you're working with that's more important rather than how skilled they are. Like, what is their personality? Is this person that's going to be able to meld with the culture of your department? People that you're going to get along with, people that you can talk about the current sports, right? What's really important is to understand how important interviews are, and for surgery, it makes up 60% of getting into it.
That being said, it's still an exam. It's not a personality test. I think people go into interviews thinking that they want you to just tell them about yourself. Like, oh my God, I love cats. I love to chill out. I like to read. I'm a really enthusiastic person. But those things can be true, but you need to package them in a way that is easily understandable for the examiner. And they have to have a heading, an example, and a reflection point. You can't just present information and expect them to believe you. There is a certain way that you have to say it, and you have to convince them about it. And you can definitely tell when someone is giving a generic answer that isn't truly authentic to themselves, that isn't coming from their story, their why. And I think the major thing that I noticed about Oliver is that when he first started interviews, they were pretty generic. Right? Say the things that you think that they want you to say. You're really consistent, you're really hardworking. They didn't have any flavor to them. And it wasn't until Oliver really sat down and spent like a month journaling about himself, finding out who he was and why he was that way in terms of his family, growing up with a single mom, his culture, being Filipino, growing up in a New Zealand community, where those things being tied into his interview answer gave it flesh and gave it a bit of spice, and it made it way more believable as well. Because you got to think, the examiners have listened to like 50 other candidates who have probably said similar things. You need to have something that makes your answer stand out, but that standing out needs to be true to you.
So saying that it actually takes a lot of time for you to get really good at interviews. So as CC said, it's really important to spend that first few months trying to reflect on yourself and figure out what really makes you special. What is that extra spark that's going to differentiate you from the other candidates? So that's step one. And I think step two is also one that's overlooked, and that's understanding what that department or what that course really wants from their candidates. So that's researching what they value. This could be the ethos of the company. This could be the culture of the people that are there, or what are the skill sets that they really need. So after trying to be authentic, write that all down, then grab what they want, and then meld that together to have the perfect answer for them. So this was my answer.
Tell me about yourself.
My name is Oliver Dehenya, and I was born in the Philippines and raised by a mother who worked and struggled day and night to get me to where I am today. And that hard work, dedication, and commitment is something that I always bring to any community that I'm involved in. I was hooked by oral and maxillofacial surgery when I was a maxillofacial house surgeon in New Zealand, and I saw the impact that we had on a patient that was so thankful to look normal again following her orthognathic surgery. And on that day, I committed myself to ensuring that I'll do every step I can to be an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. That led me to a job in a major trauma center in the UK in Nottingham, where I had the privilege to work with singly and dual qualified registrars and a team of 10 consultants, and it showed me and inspired me what I could be in the future. I thrived off working in big teams and being able to juggle acute and also ward work while collaborating with other specialties like neurosurgery. In that role, I also developed my passion for research, and I was guided by a world-renowned TMJ professor, and he showed me the creative outlet and also the impact that you can make on a global scale with research. This allowed me to travel to Hong Kong, Britain, and Birmingham to present my research. And I also got to travel around Europe. This really opened my eyes up to different cultures and navigating different health systems. But ultimately, it also showed me the aspects of surgery. I also learned how to dance there, and my mom's a dancer, and so I was able to pick up a lot of this Latin dance, and we was able to perform in different places like Nottingham and London. The UK developed me as a clinician and really allowed me to build my passions like research and dancing. And the best thing was I was able to bring it back and present it at the Australasian conference. And I also was able to build a Latin dance school in Wellington, which I'm really proud of as it's still running to this day.
Mold together your authentic story with what they want. And to do that, you need to have an understanding of yourself, and you need to have an understanding of the company or the department or the surgical
Specialty that you want.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you really enjoyed this video. We didn't really go into the specific structuring, so like signposting, opening statement examples and things. If you want a more basic video about that, we can totally make that as well.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. And hey, if you really want to know about my journey of why I went from dentistry to medicine and now surgery, we'll put a link up to here. And otherwise, we'll see you next one. We did it!
Yeah.